How can you monitor and evaluate employee performance and align individual goals with a company's strategic objectives? If your goal is to create a more successful company, today's topic is for you. We're going to dig into the details of performance management, a focus of Chapter 8 in Chuck Violand's book, Forging Dynasty Businesses. Chuck, welcome back.
Hey, Jeff. Thanks. Nice being here.
Good to have you here again talking about your book. We're getting through it, Chapter 8,
We
cranking
are.
along. This chapter, Chuck, is a good one. I can't help but think that a true performance management system might unearth some things we don't want to know about, but we need to know about and respond. So
Yep.
tell us about today's topic.
Well, today's topic is about performance management. And I think a good place to start on that is that, establishing the difference between performance management and a performance review. A performance review is an activity or a tool that can be used to manage someone's performance. Performance management, on the other hand, is much more comprehensive. It's a system, and it can be used to establish a position's expectations and then to guide an employee's performance in achieving those expectations. Performance management starts with the job description that includes the purpose of the position, areas of responsibility and authority, and how performance is going to be measured. Now, those measurements typically include metrics and goals for the position. Performance management is also includes basic things like communication to reinforce the expectations on a regular basis, feedback loops between the manager and the employee that flow both ways, and even coaching when it's appropriate.
Chuck, you make this sound like this is an important topic.
It is an important topic, especially if you're serious about growing a business.
All right, so we've set the tone. This is an important topic. You also write about, oh, and by the way, we will talk about evaluations later because I do want to dig into that a bit more.
Okay,
Performance. Yeah, because I think people wonder how important they are. But let's talk about blind eye management. You write about that,
I do.
the real world of management or mismanagement. Share that with us.
Unfortunately, unfortunately, Jeff, this is all too often the world of small business management, mismanagement. At many times it stems uh, from the behaviors of the owner. It's actually one of the behaviors that I wrote about in my previous book. I call it hiding out. It's basically conflict avoidance. And many small business owners are conflict avoiders. It may not seem that way, but they are. Many of us are nice guys who like to be liked. So we avoid bad news or conversations that might lead to conflict or bad news, which means that we fail to hold people accountable when they're not performing. Now, this, as you might imagine, usually does not end well for the owner or the employee or the business.
Yeah, I like that, Chuck. I think you're right. No one likes conflict, and maybe we just want to have that blind eye at times. And maybe it's human nature, but how important it is to overcome that. But let's segue to a way to make sure all of this is happening. I like checklists myself. I don't know if you do, but I think in this chapter you do talk about checklists. How
I do.
important is that?
Yeah, checklists are important. As a matter of fact, there's a pretty nice 11-point evaluation checklist that we provide in the book. Now, we don't have time to go into each one of these in this podcast in detail, but there are a couple that I'd like to highlight for our viewers. The first one is a selection and hiring process. Now, that's different than a selection and hiring event. The idea is to lay out in advance of hiring the types of employees that you want for the position, technical skills, as well as cultural characteristics. Another one on the list is a focus on onboarding, training, and ongoing employee development. Now, this includes technical skills, soft skills, and management development when it's appropriate. But then there's also a third one that I thought was important, and that's an oldie but a goodie. I still subscribe to it, and it's pertinent even today. MBWA, management by walking around. Now, this means getting out and talking to the people at all the levels of your organization and then listening to them. Jeff, a couple of years ago, I was talking to an owner of a very large and very successful plumbing company. And he really laid it out pretty well in terms of management by walking around. He mentioned to me that it was his practice every day when he would go into the shop to walk through the garage every morning to talk to his field plumbers while they were getting their trucks ready. He said, while they were getting their work orders, he was getting his work orders. He mentioned that it kept him grounded and in touch with his people. Now, this is a guy that was very successful in his business, but he was also very perceptive in this act that he was doing.
What were those again? Management by walking around? No.
Management by walking around, MBWA.
How that's fantastic. So that plumbing business owner connected with his people, got ideas, heard concerns, all kinds of good stuff came from that.
Absolutely. And this is
So
a really successful guy.
yeah, you're telling us get out of our chair and go talk to our team.
That's pretty much what I'm saying, Jeff.
I like it. All right, Chuck, my favorite part, I think, of every interview is hearing the real life story. And you have one about high tide conceals the rocks. Oh, that's a good one. Share it with
Oh,
us.
it was a good one. This is a great story. And fortunately, it does have a happy ending. Now, this is a classic story about a company that grew so fast it outgrew their people, their management structure, and their systems. They were all gas pedal, no brakes, very little clutch, and it nearly put them out of business. The company was doing over $20 million in revenue a year, but there were no budgets, no revenue expectations, no profitability goals. There were no performance expectations set for people from the salespeople to project managers to the administrative staff. Even the owners weren't on the same page with each other. Then the revenue stopped, and that party was over. We got the call when they had about 30 days cash left in the bank. Now, when you're that size company, that cash flows out real fast. So we knew we had to act fast. The upside is that when you're in free fall like that, it's very easy to get the owner's attention. And we did. They got to work. They were very fortunate that they happened upon a really sharp finance guy that they hired into their business. And even better, that they actually listened to him, that the owners listened to him. And they were able to turn that ship around. Now, it took a lot of work and it wasn't without its pitfalls, its setbacks. But the bottom line is, and the good news is that they got it turned around and they're doing very well.
I have to think that some honest introspective analysis has to happen for a business owner to say, hey, we need help. And as you mentioned, they found the right person and they listened to them.
That's the
So
key.
critical.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's circle back.
Mhm.
My final question, I want to talk about performance evaluations. I'm sure, Chuck, that as a successful business owner that you are, when one comes across your desk, you get on it right away and you get those done, right?
Sorry, Jeff. Confession time here.
All right. I mean, I do those for my team. How important are these for a company to really get into these and do them right?
Well, again, I am a bad one to answer this question because I am notorious for putting them off. I just doing performance reviews, formal performance reviews. Now, with that said, I do believe that they're still a valuable tool for managing people, but I also think that they can be misused. For instance, if this is the only tool you use to manage your people, that's not good. Or if the evaluation scores on the review are a surprise, either to the person being reviewed or to you, then somebody's not doing their job of communicating in between when you do these formal reviews. And quite frankly, I think that's where a lot of times people get a cynical opinion of their value.
Well, thanks, Chuck. I guess there's some value to performance reviews or evaluations as long as they're done right with the right focus. That has to happen as well.
Yeah.
Some might just look at them as fill out the paper.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right, let's wrap up. Any final thoughts to share? Any more strategies?
Oh, yeah, I do, Jeff, actually. Thank you for asking. In working with entrepreneurs and small business owners for most of my professional career, I've finally come to the conclusion that most of us, and I'm one of those too, have easily distracted, short attention span personalities. Now, I'm not sure this is much a personality fault as it's simply a condition. It has its strengths, but it also has its drawbacks. But it can make it very difficult for an entrepreneur to follow through on things, especially over time. An effective performance management system requires someone to follow through on things over an extended period of time. So the business owner may not be the best person to be in charge of that. The most effective performance management systems I've seen have been run by good managers or supervisors, someone who is good with following through, doing the details, holding people accountable, coaching when it's necessary. This doesn't give owners a free pass on performance management. We still have to work at it, but they also have to give their managers the latitude to manage their people and then to support them when they do, especially when they have to make some tough decisions while doing that. So it's important that we support the people who are doing it and that we continue to try to be better at doing it ourselves.
Good words, good thoughts, Chuck. And Forging Dynasty Businesses, #1 bestseller, New York Times list. Um, Next time, Chuck, chapter 9. I don't know
Yeah,
about this. Policies, practices, and procedures.
I have a feeling I had somebody give me a lot of help with that chapter, Jeff. You might know him.
I might. I know all your team.
Yes.
All right, Chuck. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
Jeff, thank you very much.